but I'm happy to say that we have Paul Kriegler with us from Telos Alliance. And our main topic for the first part of our gathering is audio processing. And we've all got audio processors. I, I hope we all do. And yet at the same time, you find two things, or as I drive around and listen, there are stations that simply throw a preset up, and that's as far as they'll go. And there are the stations that really crank around with the internals because somebody figures that they can manhandle that GUI and make them sound better, louder, or whatever. As Paul told us the last time that he was with us, many of the newer car radios have built-in leveling circuitry so that if you try to get louder than everybody else, the radio may just make a counter move on you.
Things are different in 2025.
All right, Paul, talk to us.
Well, good morning. I'm Paul Kriegler. I'm the director of sales for Omnia here in the United States, which means I cover any station that calls us and they're looking for help with their AM, their FM, their HD stream, their HD's channel rather, or streaming online. Our Telos brand of streaming products have Omnia processing built in. We've got three streaming options of flavors of processing for streaming to make your stream sound great. But really, what I wanted to go in here is to be on the esteemed Barry Michigan weekly Thursday lunch thing. I decided to come up with some video content to share with Barry and to share with you. If you happen to have one of our processors, these videos, if you have an Omnia Volt, an Omnia 11, an Omnia 9, these videos will come in handy for you. Or they may bore you to tears. Either way, at some point we're going to post these to our social channels for Telos, so they'll be forever enshrined for you to go back and look at. But before we go into the deeper, I guess the deeper part of setting audio processing, a couple of larger. We just wanted to go through this slide deck and just kind of, before you start adjusting. I wanted to give you these tips and pointers. Number one, before I get started, what Mark
By the way,
Manolio,
I do have the files that you sent me,
did you? Good.
and I have them uploaded to my server, which I will make available to everybody as well.
Okay, perfect. So number one, Mark Manolio in our support department will tell you if you call looking for help in processing, and if you call me looking for help, I'm going to tell you the same thing. And that's that pretty much in our processors, we would recommend to a customer to go through the list of presets. If you're just going through the presets, just start going through them, listen to program audio that your station plays, listen on, decent set of speakers. But at this point, at this real early stages, you just bought the audio processor, you just plugged it in, you're listening to it. At this point, what you're looking for is a preset that fits the feel of your music. You're not looking for the preset that is the end all beat all, this is just, oh, this is perfect. You're just looking for something that fits the right EQ and the feel for your station. Because the way the topology in our brand of processors works, we give you a final clip drive. An Omnia 9, Omnia 11, Omnia Volt, you've got a final clip drive. With that final clip drive, it's real easy to make your station less loud. Maybe you picked a preset that you really like, but it's just a little too loud for your market. You can turn that final clip drive down. Maybe that preset's something you like. You want it to be a little bit louder, turn it up. Bottom line, the thing about presets that some people misunderstand as far as just like, you know, um, trying to win with an audio processor is I've got a program director friend of mine in Seattle. You'll sometimes run across situations like this. This guy in Seattle's got the best sounding radio station, and I got his Omnia 11 preset and I put it in my preset and it sounds terrible. Why is that? I would go so far as to say that presets are for markets. We give you some starting points, in an Omnia processor where we've got, in the Omnia 11, I think there's 12 classical presets to get someone started. We do have presets, that are designed for AC or top 40 formats where we've internally, with our people, come up with some what we feel are good starting points for a format. But really what ends up happening is, a preset goes into a market. It doesn't go into a format at the end of the day. And markets are all very, very different. Seattle, for example, is probably the basiest market that I see in North America, where every station just seems to push the bass harder than other markets. And like, let's say if you were to take that preset from Seattle and maybe take it to St. Louis, it may not be as loud, and it's going to sound really bassy. So markets tend to sometimes normalize to maybe what the top rated station sounds like. Everybody chases that station. So you end up with these pockets where a market ends up having or taking on its own, to some degree, its own personality or quirk when it comes to setting processing sometimes. And it takes, somebody coming in to change that, you know, going the opposite direction, which we'll go into. Am I sharing my screen, Barry?
You should not yet, but you should be.
How do I how do I do that in Zoom?
Little green box at the bottom of your screen, and then pick the screen, and then click on share.
Green box.
There's a little green up arrow at the bottom
Ah,
of
there it is. Share. I see. There we go.
bingo.
So before you go twiddling with your processor, I just wanted to cover a couple ideas here. There are some rules I would say that have never changed, but because of technology and because of how the record companies and how digital music and music is distributed, there are some new mm, foibles. Still garbage in, garbage out. Um, MP3s are still your enemy. I would say the two main issues I see with stations trying to get that final polish in their sound, it's these two. It's MP3s and having a library where it's not normalized. And this crosses different audio. What I'm about to say crosses different audio processors. It could be the other guy's processor. Really, any audio processor, no matter what brand type, is going to behave better if you've got a good board operator back at the station. But since we fired all those board operators and it's just three dumb pots on a console that are open, really there needs to be some degree of production value put into the station by the program director, his or herself, to make sure that the product that they're loading, that they're going to be playing out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, i.e., your music library, is at close to the same level of loudness. Wide Orbit, Zeta, a lot of the other big name automation systems will give you those tools internally to set one normalization target for your whole building so that your commercials, your music, your voice tracks, anything that you load into automation will play out at roughly around the same normalization target. And that will help any brand of audio processor that sits downstream to sound better. Uh, I run into customers that think that perhaps the undo section in Omnia 9 or maybe the perfect declipper section in an Omnia 11 will help recover the audio damage done by MP3s or compressed files. You're only going to get so far. If you run an MP3 through your audio processor, our audio processors are Cuisinarts of audio. They are taking a magnifying glass to everything you feed into them. So again, garbage in is going to amplify garbage out at the back end of the processor. So the problem that I find is I still do some programming on the side where I am aware that record companies will send you what you think is a WAV file today. Like, here's a link, and the program director downloads that link, and it's a WAV file. I just put that into my automation system. Not so fast. A lot of the record companies don't really know what they're doing with these digital files. They'll send out 96 kilohertz 32-bit files like from before the CD was even mastered, when something just came out of the studio, and which will end up in maybe your program director going, what do I do with this 96 kilohertz 24-bit file? I've never seen a file like this. You know what they do? They make it into an MP3 on their desktop, and then they load that into automation. I've seen that one too, where there's people inside the building that just don't understand that when you create an MP3 and you try to turn that back into a WAV file, the damage is done, the quality is lost, and you don't get it back. So transcoding and MP3s are, I'd say transcoding slash MP3s are one enemy to your radio station. So any satellite feed that's coming into your radio station and then you stream that, that's transcoded. That audio is going to be more broken at the end user listening on a stream. There's very little you can do about that, but there's things that you can do in your building about songs or long form programs that may be getting dumped into your system as MP3s. And I'll get into, other reasons why MP3s are bad, but this
Paul,
program, yeah,
can I ask a question?
sure,
I don't know if you want anybody else to break in until you're
please
done, but
do.
let me ask this. MP3s and waves, I think there's a lot of people that don't know how to identify them properly. And I wonder if maybe another time that you would join us and demonstrate the difference between MP3s and waves and we could identify them. Can't do it this way because what happens with the video is that YouTube will block it.
Well, this is a free program that's going to get us both around that, what I'm showing here on the screen.
But
Seriously, this is a free program people can download right now. It'll
oh,
help
okay,
people immediately discover what's an MP3, what's real and what's fake.
okay.
And interestingly enough, it's a free program, Barry, and it's called Fakin' the Funk. If you go to fakinthefunk.net, if you can look at the screen and read that, FAKIN thefunk.net. You download this to your PC, you can put it on your Windows server, and you point it to wherever the folders are. I don't know that I would point it like if you're running, if your automation system, all of your music for your whole building, you got 5 stations, one server. I wouldn't point it at that server because it's going to scan every single audio file on that server and tell you instantaneously when it's done, did this file start out as an MP3? This is what the software basically tells you, scanning from left to right. I tried to make this as large as I could. But from left to right, if you're looking kind of in the middle of the screen, this is what the program is telling you. You've got 4 thumbs down emojis there on the left that are telling you the top 4 files are no good. And the reason why they're no good is because if you look on the far right, it tells you what the bit rate is, 1411, that's a WAV file, but the actual bit rate was 320 kilobits per second. And that's why it's got the red thumbs down because it was an MP3 is what this is telling you. This is just telling you that this song on your hard drive, while it may be a WAV file as it sits on your hard drive right now, it started as an MP3. And it's real easy to show you in Adobe Audition the effects, the drop off of the EQ curve to tell if audio is bad or not. And this is basically what this software is doing just on a much faster basis. This is a really clever, cheap, free way to look at 100 files on a computer. The version where you get charged, I think it's like $20. I think is all they charge for this. It's a really useful piece of software. If you're looking to clean up your radio station, fakinthefunk.net. Why should you care? One of the things I wanted to get around to is ratings in big markets. Watermarking is a mono phenomena. It's not stereo. So one of the things we do in FM audio processing is we stretch that stereo width. We'll have stereo enhancement in our FM processors. They all do it. One trick is when you're going to watermark your radio station, you really want to do that after you do anything with the L-R. And as an adjunct to that, when you're creating MP3s or you're playing MP3s, there is less L-R data in the middle there for that watermark to stick itself. So if you're constantly playing MP3s on your radio station, there's less what I would call resolution or data for that watermark to stick itself in. Because one of the things that a codec does is it wrecks the L minus R aside from messing up the high frequencies and jacking with the EQ curve. Um, Poor MP3s drive down time spent listening. Can't prove that. But if your product sounds worse, or encodes worse, it's all additive. It's gonna hurt your ratings. Every MP3 you place in your library, the better your station's going to sound, and the better your HD channel and your stream will sound, most importantly. Because again, you're transcoding. The moment you have an MP3 that exists in your library, every time you play it, you're making your HD channel sound worse and you're making your stream sounds much worse than it has to. And as I always said, I worked for a general manager once. I took over a station in Tulsa and the library was just, it was all over the place. Unknown songs from, some of them were recorded from vinyl. It sounded like it was just, it wasn't right. And I went to the general manager and I said, this is kind of what I've found. And he says, it's only the product. Go fix it. It's my favorite general manager I ever worked for. But there are other tools. So if your automation system might be from 10 years ago or longer, and it doesn't have any sort of ability built in for you to normalize your library when you're putting songs or long form programs into your automation system, we make a product called Audio Tools, which will do, basic normalization as a function. There are third-party programs. I think Vimeo makes one that will, look at a folder and normalize everything in the stack. So if your automation system doesn't do it and you want to start fixing your library or choosing a loudness target for your building, it really is something that I recommend. So let's say you're going to go start adjusting audio processing. What should you listen on? You've got lots of options, all kinds of radios these days. Speaker wise, for me, it's the car. It's always been about the car. If you look around today, you look at RAB studies, if your program director has Maximizer from Nielsen, that's an old program. I don't know if that's still around. I might be dating myself. Oh my gosh. Um, but you're going to find that north of 80% of a station's audience is in the car. So I would say since the car seems to be the last thing that radios, the dashboard is pretty much what we own in radio, I would be very conscious about how that station sounds on a variety of different radios, especially some of the most popular cars that are out there on the road. Um, so let's get in the car. That's the engineer driving, by the way. And that's the young program director sitting in the passenger seat listening to his radio station as they're headed up to the transmitter site to go to the tower. But this really is an exercise that needs to happen at some point where the engineer needs to have needs to have a talk with the program director. What are your goals? What's the goal for the sound of your radio station? And for the two to work together to try to achieve that common goal. Let's say you're in the car. What are some things to watch out for? One, the car has EQ. And, especially if it's not your car, you'll find that people have different sensibilities when it comes to how they set the EQ in their car. Flatten the EQ. The car's got subwoofers. I would kill those so that you don't have the extra boominess being added by the subwoofers, or just flatten the subwoofer out. If there's any DTS enhancement on that dashboard where it's faking the stereo width or doing some sort of surround enhancement to enhance the feel, turn all that stuff off. The speed, road induced volume increases. Let's say you're going 80 miles down the freeway and you notice the volume has gone up as you're speeding up, and then volume goes down when you come to a stoplight. That sort of ALC is what it's called on some dashboards, automatic level control. Turn that off. And and I really can't overestimate this one enough. This is a big one. If you're gonna, try to go messing around with the sound of your radio station, I'd be conservative and stop after about 30 or 45 minutes of listening. Just stop. Stop. And and this comes from experience, somebody who's made a mistake. Okay, I was in Atlanta, Georgia. I had an Omnia FM listening at a distance and from the tower site, and went home and realized driving on the way home that I made a real bad mistake and fixed it when I got in the morning. We didn't have a remote to the processor, but I made that mistake where it's like, oh, what? Oh, this is probably because I just my ears got worn out. And so just be willing to like give it a rest, let the ears rest, and come back the next day. And also not having proper measurement, not knowing if your competition is running legal or illegal. Having good measurement gear is so important. Now, I'd like to talk about loudness here for a second, because I would go so far as to say that the loudness wars, if they're not over, they're ending. In 2020, Barry, this might look familiar to you. This is showing the degree of loudness in popular music and how it has increased decade after decade after decade. So here we sit. We have digital media. We've, got the absolute best ability to play back audio. And what do? What has the record industry done? There's some similarities to what the radio industry did in the 60s and 70s with loudness, going into loudness wars with each other and things like that. Except the record industry loudness war was really between, different CDs that were in your changer. There was a record producer by the name of Clive Davis who ran Arista Records for the longest time, and it was pretty well known uh, among mastering engineers at the time, among other record labels, that Clive had a CD changer in his office. And if a master that was burned to CD from one of his artists came in, and if it wasn't louder than other CDs in his changer, he would send it back to be remastered or turned up, do it again. And that's why one of the reasons why we are today where we are. But I would say because of this loudness war, I think program directors and engineers should be looking at a new tactic. Turn it down. Quality matters, especially today with the digital dashboards. The DTS software that's on your dashboard. You see this? That's not a radio. There's no radio in that dashboard. Nope, it's software. So I would say, as a radio station, if you've got a whole cluster of radio stations or just one, you've spent money for that signal. You've spent money for the transmitter, the transmission chain. You've got people, salespeople. You've got a brand. You've got a logo. You've got product that you're airing. You've spent money to get here. Let's keep them. And that's where we can come in. So that's kind of what I say is they chose you. So give them a reason to stick around. Because right now, if someone has DTS auto stage, or, they can bring their phone into their car, they can have a better sounding alternative to you instantaneously on their phone. And it probably sounds better than your radio station at the moment. These digital dashboards are unique in that they really don't understand FM radio the way program directors think they still do. So I still run into program directors that think, hey, if I'm the loudest station in the market, I've got the advantage. You don't. So, quick story, I'm in New York City. I can measure the loudness of radio stations. I can go in, I got software that lets me see the modulation irrespective of the loudness of a radio station. So it's they're interrelated things, but I can read them very clearly, read both numbers real clearly. What you see in most markets is excuse me one second. So I went to New York. I had one station doing 8.5 loudness, 8.5 dB composite loudness, and a station in New York doing almost 12 dB composite loudness. The station doing 12 dB composite loudness was overmodulated to the tune of about 130%, um, probably 95 kilohertz deviation. And I leave Empire State. I get in the car, and the lady driving the car, the rental car, excuse me, the Uber or Lyft or whatever it was, she's driving and she's listening to a station that I saw on my readings was down here loudness wise, 8. I'm listening to the station do an 8.5 dB loudness. And I see her flipping through her radio and I see the DTS auto stage logo on the radio. And I see her switch. She's about to push the button to the station I just left on Empire. And I know that it's about to be 4 dB louder. And I'm in the back seat between two speakers, bracing myself. And nothing happened when she switched to the louder radio station. It's because the software in that dashboard is looking ahead to make sure that if somebody plugs in an iPhone or if somebody, if somebody starts playing Spotify or somebody switches a radio station, puts in a CD, plugs in a jump drive. Think of that radio on the dashboard as an entertainment. Uh, it's an entertainment medium for the vehicle. It's part of the in-car experience. It's far more than a radio, and it's software, and it behaves a bit differently, and it can turn your station down if you are the loudest station in a market. If people, I would, where all this is going, if I was a program director in 2025, I would just want to sound good. Really, I would want to be in the middle of my market sound wise. I wouldn't want to be the loudest radio station on the dial. Not today. DTS Auto Stage, the software phenomenon, it's not going to stop. We're here. Mercedes-Benz has DTS in the dashboard, Hyundai, Kia, Genesis. The best thing about
Hey,
DTS Auto
how do
Stage,
you process?
I'm sorry? The best thing about DTS Auto Stage for me is that it does allow you to carry a station far beyond your coverage area. So DTS has implications where, if you've created an app with Xperi and you drive outside the coverage area of the station, you could drive coast to coast listening to your favorite station, which is, a great development for broadcasters. So I guess the cliff notes of this would be, don't overmodulate. I don't think that's a tactic anymore, really. I mean, I would do what the radio is expecting. If that software that's in the dashboard, that digital dashboard, if it's expecting a radio station to be at no more than 105, 110% modulation, I would give it that. I wouldn't try to be the loudest station in my market. Um, I'll warn you that I see some customers around the country that have tried SSB with varying results. It breaks the reception on some radios, causing a multipath like effect. Um, Using presets from another market, I would advise against that. You want to find a sound that fits your market. And remember, garbage in, garbage out. Before I hand it back to Barry and I just want to tell you that the number one station in the number one market in the country is the least loud. Was just there recently, confirmed it. I always kind of knew this going into New York. But if there's a trend to be seen here, it's that the number one station in the number one market in the country, the most notoriously loud market in the United States, that number one station is a full 2 or 3 dB below the rest of the market. When you put on the number one station in the market, you have to turn it up a little bit. And I would go so far as to say that turning it up a little bit makes listeners stay there a little bit longer. They've got the number one time spent listening in the market. They've got an 8 share, 6 plus. They've got a full 2 share lead over number two. And I would go so far as to say that in a super loud, over communicated world, perhaps turning it down and whispering might be the way to stand out. I work from home. I'm in Eugene, Oregon, lovely Eugene, Oregon today for the SBE. I'm glad I could join you guys before we do the meeting here today, but I usually work from home. So if you've got an Omnia 11, an Omnia 9, or a Volt, and you're looking for help with your processor, I can do a team viewer session. If I happen to be in your backyard, be in the vicinity, I'll be happy to stop by your transmitter site and bring my toys and we can play. But and streaming too. So I've got a real cool toy that allows me to put in your streaming link, and I can do all kinds of analysis and loudness measurements on your stream, make your station sound better uh, remotely. Here to help.
Well, I've got a question that'll probably get me thrown off this forum. My favorite thing to bounce in between is local FM broadcast and Sirius XM.
Why is that?
How do you prepare for competing to the Yacht Rock channel if you're wanting people to switch between that and your FM?
Um, I happen to have a radio programming friend of mine that says, "Do you know that there is a song separation of 30 minutes on the Yacht Rock channel on Sirius XM?" I'm like, "That's terrible programming." I know. Um,
I don't understand that. What's a 30 minutes mean?
you play the same song every 30 minutes.
No, it's every 3 hours.
That was so. I'm not kidding. So you think that radio sounds worse than the Yacht Rock channel or better than the Yacht Rock channel? I'm not sure your point.
It varies. There's a couple stations here that sound pretty bad. There's one called the Breeze or something that it doesn't always get over here to Contra Costa County. But when it does, it sounds really good. And I don't, I guess they're using some pretty fancy processing. I don't know exactly what they're using, but I've always heard that if you're listening to Sirius XM, you're listening to garbage. But in my Chevrolet, it sounds pretty nice, and I do not have a premium audio, just stock audio.
So I can't listen to any audio for an extended period of time below 128 kilobits per second at loud volume. It hurts my head.
What are they using on Sirius XM?
Well, so I don't know for sure. I mean, but my
Depends on the
understand,
service.
yeah, my understanding is they're sending up to 300 kilobits per second of total throughput over the bird. So however many channels, if there's 230 channels, they're all sharing that bandwidth in some degrees. Some channels get more bandwidth than others, but it's unlistenable to me. But their streams, so let me say something positive. Their streams, they're the streams that they put on the internet of the channels that are on the bird, so excellent online.
I think on their satellite, Paul, I think what it is, some channels it varies from day to day. It depends on what they're doing. They can dynamically open them up or crunch them down at will, I think.
Is that called statistical multiplexing? That's what they call it on video.
Yeah, I think some of the real popular channels, like the 60s channel, 60s at 6 or something like that, they get more bandwidth than the other channels.
I had an experience where I rented a Tesla for a while. It did not have Sirius XM, and I did a 1,000-mile trip, and it was had their tune in or whatever it's called. It was absolutely atrocious. And so I was told I could go to my streaming app on Sirius XM and then bring that into the entertainment system. But that depends on having internet available on the interstate. And I was doing between San Francisco and Montana on I-80 and I-15. There's a lot of places where the internet was not dependable. So that and the other one is a lot of people do an aftermarket refit, but since this was a rental car, I just had to tough it out. And the best thing to listen to was Reno Public Radio on I-80 because it was an honest to God FM station. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I've put in, sorry, I've put into the chat box the links to these videos that Paul did. It range from what, about 10 to 20 minutes or so?
Yep, I think there's probably about 55 minutes all in all.
The Omnia 9.
Between the three of them. Yep,
11.
did one for Omnia 9 where I'm showing you the remote control, NF remote interface for Omnia 9 and going through all the menus and showing you how you control the processor and bring up some of the different
Diagnostics.
meters and diagnostics and loudness meters and processing meters stuff. Yeah, how to make as many lights blink at one time as possible. That's basically it.
And there's the 11, and then there is also the Volt.
The Vault. Yep.
So those are all available at the links. It's in the chat box right now, and you can copy those and find them easily.
We've got a few people here. Wave at Barry, Michigan. We're on live with Barry, Michigan. There,
Hello.
everybody.
Hey, Eugene, hello. Any questions from the group here for Paul?
Yeah, wondered if you could put his phone number back up.
Go right ahead, Paul.
It should be, oh, wait, hang on.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a Reno number. That was where I last worked in radio full-time as an operations manager. I just kept the number.
Okay. Is that a mobile number?
It is.
Okay.
And don't call him for the next hour.
I won't. I probably have his number anyway, but figured I'd better get it. Thank you.
Tim guessed correctly.
So where
Tim
are you,
Braddock,
Paul?
Tim Braddock guessed correctly. Right now, I'm in Eugene, Oregon, but I'm based in Austin, Texas.
I was just curious because you looks like you're in a restaurant or something.
I am. I'm at the Sizzler in Eugene, Oregon. Come by for a free lunch.
Cool.
Good place to eat.
I'll say one thing before I go, Corny, about overmodulation. I think the biggest reason for it is most people just don't have the right measurement tools.
There's that, and then there's people that just think just don't realize what's going on today.
Right.
No matter how many times you tell them, hey, you really shouldn't do that. That's all you're doing is distorting in most of the radios. Sounds fine on mine.
When I went to Peru, where there's no equivalent of the FCC at all, I was down there and I opened up my measurement tools to see what the band was like. And every station was doing between 150% and 180%. And when you'd get in a car, take an Uber or Lyft, when we'd go somewhere or get in the car, every car radio in Peru, in Lima, sounded
terrible.
it's just a wall of distortion.
Wow.
Unlistenable, just totally unlistenable.
Wow.
The radios can't make sense of overmodulation today. They just can't.
Yeah, because of, with HD and all that, they have to chop down the bandwidth so much that the radios are basically just filtering right around your analog signal and chopping out everything else. So you just don't have that wiggle room for modulation anymore.
Even analog, there was headroom issues in the receiver, which nobody thinks about.
Right. On the audio stages.
Quality is the in thing in my book.
Well, that really makes a big difference in these days. Should, and as you say, the TSL would be the opportunity to know exactly what's going on.
Well, I've said, you could have a radio station in a top 10 market that bills $27 million a year. It's in the top 3. Maybe it's number 1, women 25-54. Program director leaves. They hire a new program director. This program director that they just hired he's a hotshot. And, he thinks that being the loudest station on the dial is where it's at. And maybe it's an AC station, but he just doesn't know when to stop, doesn't have the sensibility to go, okay, stop. This sounds good enough. Or you could do focus groups. I was a real research-oriented program director back in the day. You could do focus groups in person with your audience and try to drill into what's happening to my audience. Why am I losing share? Why is my time spent listening down by a full hour? They'll never tell you. They can't pinpoint why they're not spending as much time with your radio station. They just can't. But processing definitely plays a part. Content's always going to be king. But trust me, processing can play a part. If you're trying to keep the audience around the station, you can make them go away.
I think I think the TSL, if they're complaining at all, they'll say, I just get tired of listening.
Or they just say, I don't like that station. It just annoys me.
They just get fatigued.
Yes.
That's what they do.
There was, and I've mentioned this before, in DB magazine, which no longer exists, One year, some time ago, I remember a letter to the editor talking about TSL and how a station that this fellow worked for briefly had knocked it down to minutes. He said when he went out back into the alley, he just found it was all filled with all the clipped peaks.
Time spent listening added to cume. I mean, if you want to move a ratings meter, if you got decent cume and you increase time spent listening, that's free audience. That's the fastest way to grow share unfairly is if you can dramatically increase your time spent listening. It's no
I,
secret.
I was telling a joke in case anybody didn't realize that you don't walk out in the back alley and find all the clipped peaks. So, Harold, help us.
Okay, on overmodulation, do stations have modulation monitors? Now the FCC does not require them. And are they working?
That's a good question, isn't it?
I would say that the best modulation monitors that I see around the country are actually in today's newer transmitters. That's the newer, the newer big models of transmitters, the Gates, the Nautels, the big transmitters are pretty accurate on the front panel as far as reading what the total composite modulation is.
I was
So-
debating saying the same thing, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
since they're using direct digital synthesis now, there's no question about what the modulation is.
Yeah, what
Other-
what I see on my stuff versus what I see on the front panel, they're closer. They're not exact, but they're much closer than they used to be. Like with the old Continental analogs or the old digit exciters, those were no good.
You also get into what is a peak? Does something have to be present for so many microseconds or milliseconds to be counted as a peak? And the FCC got rid of all those requirements years ago, so nobody really knows what a peak is anymore. On the receive side, I assume all car radios are SDR at this point. Is that been running DSP, or do we have ceramic filter IFs, et cetera?
There's no more ceramic filter IFs in any dashboard. Unless you got a 2002 Lexus or something, maybe.
So it's pretty much probably zero IF SDRs.
All software.
Wow.
And I don't know, on overmodulation and so on. I think if a zero IF SDR, you bring the I and Q signals out to low pass filters, and that's what really determines the RF bandwidth. And it seems like that could be adjustable. How do they handle overmodulation and so on?
Distortion. Pure distortion.
Okay, so they still clip it.
I just don't think the radio understands. So what I've talked to a friend of mine who's done some going down this rabbit hole. He found that these newer SDRs all stop at about 110 to 115%. That anything past, he found on one radio past 110% just adds more noticeable grunge, distortion. That's it. There's no more to gain. There's nothing more to gain except more distortion.
Well, go back
Very-
to the 70s and 80s. Easy listening stations were very high quality, and they dominated their markets.
You got a station in New York that's trying to present a high quality broadcast to the market.
Which one is that?
Well, that's the number one station. That's the least loud in New York City. WLTW, Light FM.
Oh, well, it's been top in the market for decades now.
And the least loud station in New York City.
Right. But see, their audio is basically what easy listening audio used to be.
Modern AC. What would be modern, today's modern adult contemporary format. Yeah.
Right.
Paul, Mike Modney in chat asks if you will have tutorials available for Forza FM in the future.
Yeah, we'll do one for Forza. You don't need a processing PhD to get a good sound out of Forza. That's the thing I like about it. It'll be a short video.
Question, Paul.
Yeah.
You mentioned loudness earlier.
Mhm.
I know the European standard is that they just measure loudness with dBr, I believe. Are you,
Corny is the BS 412 standard. Is that 0 dB composite loudness?
It depends on the BS42. It depends on the country. So
But,
I think France is 0, I think, or maybe +9. Some are 0. Others are, what was it? What was the common one?
Germany is 0, isn't it?
I think it's lower than that.
+4?
No, not plus. It's a Germany's minus.
It's a minus. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay.
I think the only plus, well, there's probably more, but the only one I'm aware of was France. I think they're like +9 or something.
So why I ask is because I do have a couple analyzers that do measure loudness because the devices were made in Europe. So trying to get a read on those with what we have going on here, not being too sure what the numbers. What number should it be? I guess is what.
There's a couple different ways you can look at loudness on FM. You can look at it using like a 1770 loudness meter, which is one thing, but the 412 meters are all based on MPX power, which is a slightly different animal. It's like taking everything that's going on in the composite versus just the modulated stuff.
Okay.
So the 1770 meters are more available than the MPX power, unless you have Omnia 9 or something, which could show you either one.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sorry,
Paul,
I didn't mean to step on your thing, Paul.
Paul, what are you going to be up in Madison this year?
I sure will.
Okay, I'll talk to you more about some of this up there.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll be there. Are you in Madison? Are you is your station in Madison, or are you just
I'm in Omaha.
He'll be in Omaha
Oh, Mark.
too.
Hey, Mark.
Yep, I'm here.
He'll be in Omaha too.
Perfect. Yeah. Mark,
you're coming out for
I'll see you in a couple
show.
weeks.
Fantastic. Then
Yeah.
I can ask you some questions. Okay.
Hey, Mary, as long as you're here,
I'm semi here.
Yes, you are. You're virtually everywhere.
Don't ask her about tower lights.
I got the little email thing from Tim, and you have a special on Omnias, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if I've looked at it yet.
Oh,
For an unlimited time, buy an Omnia from Mary Schnelly. You get me to set it up for you. Anyway.
now
There you go.
there's a deal.
There's an
There you
offer.
go.
Hey guys, it's been fun. I've got to go. I'm here in Eugene, Oregon, doing the SBE, and you still have a few minutes to come by and have free lunch on me.
So
Right.
Broadcast Depot is very helpful with our Zoom broadcasts, and that's why we want to bring our attention to Mary and whatever the deal of the week might be.
I know we ran an Omnia ad. I just don't remember what was in it. Sorry. So
Buy an Omnia.
buy an Omnia and I'll give you a free headphone. Just tell me you were on the BDR.
Oh my goodness. You had a free headphone and you get the guy to install it for you.
There you go.
Now, how can you beat that?